Ahoy there, scoundrels and scallywags, it's Miss O Plays, and this week I got another one of those ship interior design tours for you all. And while my last ship was a fancy pirate palace, this one has gone in the exact opposite direction. This grungy, brutalist beast before you is the Crimson Fleet Shade. This ship started out life as a Hopetech Star Semi, but it has gotten much bigger and beefier since then. I went all Hopetech still with this ship because I really enjoy that industrial vibe that they have. I think it kind of fits the pirates as it's the exact polar opposite of that sleek Deimos militaristic look that you might see with Sistef. It almost looks like it could be legitimately hauling cargo, but still nightmarish enough to make you want to open your cargo hold to us. And that really carries on to those Hopetech interiors too. They're very dimly lit, a little bit grimy, and the big habs for this ship have some incredible floor plans. So let's get on inside and see what this baby looks like. I'm going to start top down like last time with the cockpit. This is one of the Armstrong cockpits from Hopetech. And while I dislike the fact my captain can't turn around fully when she exits a chair, I really dig the mean reds in this. Was a little bit sad that we end up with a really nice busted version of this cockpit from the new Trekkers Alliance quest, and I couldn't put it on this ship. However, I still like it even without those broken monitors. And then in here we have one of those companionway pieces, just a 1x1, which I turned into my crew stations, give them some work to do up here. You can also see that I've been trying to junk this place up a little bit. I still find the assets that we have a little bit clean for this kind of build. So I've been using a lot of trash, like a lot of trash in this ship. And putting like the little posters on those consoles was one way I went about dirtying up that hab. Also wait for different textures and color possibilities for things like those consoles back there, because there are some other colors in the game, we just don't have access to them, which is kind of a shame, but hopefully that will change soon. And now through here, this was originally an empty 2x1 captain's quarters, and it is still my captain's quarters. It is, however, the hab in this ship just having the most difficulty with lighting, because I'm really fighting those ship lighting bugs at the moment. But as you can see, we got some good choice of weapons over there on that desk and up here on the wall. All looks a little bit menacing, and it makes sure that my girl always has the tools of the trade on hand. Got my own private bathroom up here and my own private bounty terminal too. I found that paying those bounties off as fast as you can is the most fiscally responsible way to pirate, and that is how I am raking in the millions while still being able to land in most of the major settlements. Over here we got another desk. It's kind of like the one I had over on the quay, using those velocity bottles and some items over there in the bookcase to kind of break up the gloom of that particular alcove, and some more of those lights here over my bed. Having Fallout 4 flashbacks with my crew members constantly trying to sleep in my captain's bed, hence that authorized personnel only sign in the back there. And through here I got my own little dining room. The lack of dingy furniture, especially in the table section, was a real struggle with this particular build. So I've been using the floor mats to make them a little bit dingier and also stop the bright white surfaces from adding glare to my ship lighting, as it is still being very, very weird. Got some really basic meal and tea prep amenities on the little cabinet over there. And then as we come over to this table, which is going to cause my hab to black out once again, I got my tea set on the table by my couch. So everything my captain needs really is up here, so she can live her life away from her crew if they're not sleeping in her bed, and have a little bit of alone time from the job. So speaking of the crew, let's go find out where they're supposed to be. Starting with this rather roomy mess hall down here, which is built into an empty Hopetech battle stations hab. And I got these tables that I've been using to fill in around those curved walls that can be really difficult to decorate around. And I created this little set of shelving for my coffee cups out of some sedative and document trays using that floating item trick that I showed in one of my videos earlier. Created this little busing station down here using the medical table that I placed one of those long paintings behind, and that's what creates that really nice mirrored backsplash there. And then all the various dining tables are made out of mismatched tables and chairs because I wanted to keep that ad hoc look of the quay going as much as I could. Of course, the table's still really clean. So like these tall bar ones over here, I've been using things like the folders to try dirty them up a little bit. And that's one of the areas I spent the most time on, I think, with this particular build, was trying to make this really nice, classy looking furniture look you know, kind of divey, and it was a little bit of a challenge to say the least. Really liked how this particular alcove came out here, where people are playing some games using those salvaged sofas. It kind of reminded me of some of the dives that me and my friends used to hang out in college. So that is that little nook there. I got another one over here in this corner, and for this table I actually used those document trays once again. I put them over two of the round low bar tables and I allowed them to sink. Now allowing them to sink gave me this really cool circular pattern on top, and it made it so that I could place items on the table like I normally would without having to treat them like I'm placing objects over objects. So that was nice. I'm actually finding good ways to use that aggressive sinking on ships in this build. I've got two bar areas on this ship. This one is the first one. This is kind of like the low-key chill one where people would come to eat rather than get rowdy. You got some more velocity bottles up there for the lighting, and then behind, you know, we've got the sink. We've got some like little drinks over there on the shelves. Like, it's not the most fabulous looking bar. This is kind of where your crew is going to be chilling out in their downtime, if they have any downtime. Speaking of crew, this is the first one of the crew quarters, and this one is maybe the nicest one. This might be nicer than my captain's quarters, actually, but this is another one of those 1x1 habs. I put some portholes in them to get away from the shelves, and I've been creating my own blinds for these windows by putting those long pictures above the windows and then floating one of the bar spoons to make it look like it's got a little pull tab to pull them up and down, because I figured it's a great way to get rid of the shelves if you want to make a bedroom out of these habs, but having those like really bright windows that you couldn't close would be kind of problematic if people are trying to sleep. So that is how I have solved that problem, and this is how I solved another one of those problems, tying things like the circuit boards over there over the top of that white table to try and give a dingy top to yet another white table. The bunk beds here also suffer from that really clean, regimented vibe, so I merged over one of the sleeping bags on top of that one to make it look a little more unkempt and untidy, and I actually think that looked pretty good. Now, of course, I have that big mess hall, but when you first roll out of bed, you don't want to be dealing with everyone else, so we got this small galley kitchen here with lots of cereal, because that feels like a good low effort breakfast for my crew, which brings us through to where my crewmates might be rolling out of bed. And this is one of those 2x1 all-in-one Hopetech habs. Got a nice little bedding area here with those shelves already in it, but I added some extra ones next to the bathroom to get some more of their personal items and clothes, and those personal items really spilled over into the bathroom too to really keep it looking a little chaotic and untidy, but not necessarily unsanitary. So this is my first of the crew quarters, and it takes us through to this fantastic gym. Now, I love the gym equipment for two reasons. One, gives people something to work out on and the NPCs actually use it, and two, it's got some nice worn finish there on the weight bench, which, as you've probably gathered by now, is pretty hard to come by. Plus, got another one of those custom blinds up there too. Now, as we spin around, we have got this cool little drink station for refreshments, again using one of those makeshift tables to fill an awkward space, and got these really nice little shower stalls. This particular room was built into one of the 2x1 science lab habs, and that's how I got those nice frosted dividers back there. And again, I made these showers floating some utility trays, semi-metal wafers, and surgical trays to make the shelving. Got some more floating going on here too with this particular set of cabinets, which I found is a great way to fill in some of those awkward round hollow walls. And then I reversed some drinking water fountains to make them look like lockers, also to fill up that awkward space. Through here is where you'd actually enter the ship through that docking bay we saw earlier. And I've been making fake walls by covering things in posters. It brings a little bit of that piratey grunge to the ship, but also serves a practical purpose of, you know, adding extra walls. Now we're going to come on through to the other side of our mess hall, and this is what I like to call my Starlight Lounge. We've got this big porthole. My crew can chill out and look at the stars. We've got a drink station over here with one of the little coffee makers, some Runner's Rush from the Red Mile, as well as some board games for them to play. And added a little bit of color to that table there in the water station using those velocity bottles and the float and merge trick like I used to fill those glass fronted shelves in the tutorial from earlier. Now let's come on into the guts of the ship, and this is built into one of the Hopetech 2x2 computer core habs. I was kind of sad that all of the junk got moved out of this when it was made empty, but I really wanted to fill it myself, so you know, I had to lose some cool little details, but I managed to make some cool details of my own. Like here, using that floating trick from before, I got these adaptive frames up there to make a shelf that I was able to slot those light up circuit boards behind to make it look like there's a little bit of equipment going on there. And that's right by some more sofas there in this really nice shaped hallway piece that this particular hab has. And that brings us through to, you know, that working area. Like I say, we got these shelves that came with the hab already. Filled that with some armor and some weapons, because this is where we're gearing up to go through that docking port and, you know, unleash mayhem on our marks. And we spend a lot of time fighting people on their ships, so you know, you want to be able to gear up before you get out there. So that's what this little corner is all about. And I got the Crimson Fleet weapons and helmets there to keep that pirate theme going, again without any pirate themed assets to work with as of yet. The lighting in this particular hab is also really great. Like, I like the way this warm lighting lights up these consoles. It makes them look a little bit dingier than I could get in the other habs, and I think that's one of the things I like a lot about this particular empty hab. Like, the lighting is good, and it has a really interesting floor plan with these like alcoves and that corridor piece. Like, everything about this hab is just great. And through there, from the working section, we have a library for Cora. I guess she's on my ship still. Even sometimes when Sam is gone, she's still hanging out with the pirates on here. So got her little reading room, got some more books behind those shelves, little seating area next to this porthole so she can see what is going on. And I don't know, I got some toys, but she doesn't really seem like she's into kid stuff. So we got that globe there and some insect samples too, which I think is probably more her speed. And a little jump chair for her to get into if things start getting rough, which they frequently do, because we're often in firefights with the space cops and people who get feisty and think they stand a chance against us in this ship, which they typically don't. And then down here we got this little sleeping area. Kind of wanted one of those like really, you know, not super great bunk areas like you see outside the Last Nova, and I thought, you know, putting it in this hallway piece by the computers felt like a pretty good place for that. A few more consoles, sadly without that really great lighting, before we take a turn on through to our new clinic. This one a little bit bigger than the last. We've got the bed in here too, so we can do more than just patch up a couple of scraped knees. Floated some more cabinets up here in that hollow round wall, and I will have a tutorial on dealing with those round walls up soon. This is one of the ways I've been working with them. And you'll also notice on this desk is this really awkwardly placed, you know, notebook. It was originally in a desktop holder. I got arrested. It turns out the desktop holder was stolen. I hadn't laundered it. The space cops took it. And now that is a reminder to me to, whenever I steal something, go to the TA and, you know, sell it, buy it back. I can't just leave my stolen goods willy-nilly like I could in my outposts when on my ships. But space cop oppression aside, this is my workshop, and it's actually built into, well, the workshop hab, just one of the empty ones. The ready furnished one looked a little bit too spaced out, so I wanted to make my own more densely packed version, and this is how I did it. The only downside is that this particular shape is it's got a lot of that round wall again. So got one of those makeshift tables up here where I got my shelving and storage going on, and then I divided the space up a little bit with some makeshift walls so I could have my workshop on this side, and as we'll see in a minute, my science lab on the other. And these walls were made using those large paintings which have that great reflective surface on the back. Use some posters to kind of disguise the fact that we have the gap in between, and also grunge it up a little bit. And here is what they look like on the other side. And I'm actually really happy with how those large paintings will make, you know, walls look if you can get them to sit where you want them. The storage here, some more hallucinogenic resources down there, because I feel like, you know, what we're going to be doing in a science lab on a ship like this, probably going to be a floating Aurora lab or something. So that's what that is. And then we're going to turn around, and this brings us back to that mess hall from before. This is like a little solo seating area for the antisocial. Feel like we can all relate to that on some level. We got a drink station, another one of those like propane grills down there with some alien skewers on top. And that brings us on through to our second bar, and this one is the fancy bar. Yeah, originally on this ship I tried picking up a passenger transport mission from Sidonia, and I couldn't because it turned out it didn't have any passenger slots with my one single living quarters. So this one is built into one of the big 2x2 all-in-one living quarters from Hopetech, and it's got everything you might need to entertain your guests whilst you rob them blind. We got this little cafeteria area in here, and I wanted to set it up to look kind of like a hole-in-the-wall restaurant that you might find on Neon, because my girl does also have that Neon street rat trait. So here we are in our hole-in-the-wall eatery, and now we're going to wander back out and take a look at that bar. And I made the bar itself from merging some of those stainless steel cabinets together and then using those mats on top to create a kind of dingy surface. We've also got some of those velocity bottles up there on the adaptive frames to create like a lighting rig above it. The drink selection back there is from Neon. I went pretty heavy on the blend because usually I like to display a lot of Aurora in the outpost like that, but on my ship that's contraband and will get me arrested, so blend is a good compromise here. Now one of the things I was most proud of is this beer tap up here, made using the floating technique and some nuclear fuel rods, sedative and reactive gauges. We got some couches in the corner, but this area is mostly for recreation. We got this game table here. Originally, it was one of the beer pong tables, but that white surface was causing havoc with the lighting, so I switched it for this ping pong table instead. Then, since those pirates like to dance like no one's watching, I wanted to put a dance floor in this hab, and this is what I came up with. Been using those long pictures again to create that divide there behind the couches, along with some pedestal pillars to further delineate the space. This is the best I could come up with for speakers so far, and as you can see too, for the dance floor, I sank in some of the dinner plates into these mats to make them look like a circular, shiny pattern, and all of that is of course underneath some more of those velocity light fixtures. Then got this little lounge over here. We still got some more of those velocity bottles floating up in the recess left by a porthole, trying to stop some ladders from landing here, along with this little entertainment center. We got these speakers everywhere, board games, television dumbbells, and over here in the gloom, if we can get it to lighten up, is a dartboard, and I floated in some throwing axes this time because I feel like the people here are going to be a little more feral, and it's also the only combat weapon I can get to orient to sit in those dartboards. I've tried with knives, but they just don't want to work. Then through here, since this is the all-in-one hab, we have this little sleeping area where our guests can stay. It's got a little door too that closes off, so it's a good place to sleep it off after hanging out in that bar too long at night. And we come through, I got a little console down here. That's where we're gonna control our lights and music. Some laser love and some Wilbies taking in that nightlife too. All in all, if you're gonna get ferried across the galaxy by pirates, you could do a lot worse. Just don't check your cred sticks before you leave. And in this little lounge down here, I've been using one of the oversized Newton's cradles that you can steal from Benjamin Bayou's penthouse as a magazine holder. It's a good size for that, and it kind of works. So that's been my magazine holder in a few of these builds. And Benjamin Bayou's kind. He is always replacing them, so I can go back and steal them pretty frequently from his place in Neon. And up here, we have got our security and our stash. This is built into one of the Hopetech empty armories, which is pretty neat because it's got a lot of open space and it's got a brig that isn't bugged. So I got these items over here in the corner, trying to make them resemble a big pile of basically loot. That is some of the loot we've been gathering on our travels. And these shelves over here with the porthole blacked out using some more of those paintings. Through here, we can see our brig. The door is currently open because it does open and close. Now, the empty brig itself from Hopetech appears to be bugged. The computer terminals are missing at the moment, so they're stuck closed. But this one, we have one little brig where people can either sleep off a really raucous night downstairs or, you know, think about what they've done if they tried to rob their robbers. But could be worse. It's still got air, unlike outside of an airlock, and it's got a little toilet there too. But those bad times after the good times. And in here is our, I guess, our security office. Do we have an official security here on the Shade? I don't know, but we do have an office for it. And we got these really full shelves in the back there. Still trying to find different objects to replace the boxes that we would have had in these habs were they furnished. And we got some of those stolen item and contraband lockers too, because hey, just because people have it on our ship doesn't mean they're gonna leave with it, especially if we can profit from it. And then once again, using that floating technique, I floated up those document trays to create some more shelves for coffee cups. Coffee cups and document trays. I can't think of a more iconic duo, at least not on this ship. So there you have it. That is the inside of my grungy Crimson Fleet shade. And I'm gonna be real, when it comes to building vanilla in this game, trying to create an interior that's kind of run down and dirty looking is so much harder than it is to come up with one of those clean, fancy looking builds. But it was a really satisfying challenge. And of course, after I finished this build and this video, mods dropped for the Xbox, so that is something I'm keeping my eye on and hoping to see some build kits added in the future. We got some good prehabs right now, but there's really not a lot of exciting building assets opened up yet. So it might be a while before we see those popping up in my builds. So for now, if there was anything in this video that you found helpful or entertaining, please drop me a like and subscribe. And I will be back again next week with more building tips, ships, and outpost tours. Till then, bye!